Welcome back. In this video, I want to talk a little bit about prompting best practices and techniques. So in the last video, you saw that I actually just skipped the very first prompt that I entered, which was build me an agent dashboard. If you recall, I instead moved over, pasted in a screenshot, and moved forward from there. So generally speaking, when we talk about prompting, really what we want to try to do is provide the AI agent, in this case Magic Patterns, as much context or information as we can and provide data in a structured pattern. There's a couple of core components that go into this, and to kind of illustrate this today, what I'm going to do is build up a data visualization inside this dashboard. So I'll create a new tab where we can visualize some of this information we have on the screen here. So the first thing you might do, kind of level one or the naive approach, is to just type in something like this. So, create a data viz on a new tab. And we'll try this just for fun. This will work, right? So it's going to create a data visualization on a new tab, and we'll get something back. We'll give it a second to run just so you can see the result. Okay, and here we can see the result. So if I flip over to analytics, we should see some type of analytics. Now this is fine. You can see that it did follow the theme generally of the design that we have. So it's still the dark mode, which is nice. And it came up with some data visualizations that maybe make sense. But obviously this kind of is generic, right? Like we didn't provide any real instruction on what this data visualization should try to achieve. So that would be kind of level two, which is to put in the prompt that actually helps you, express what you want. And you can use ChatGPT or Claude or any other kind of AI agent to help you write this out. You can even paste in a PRD or a spec if you have one. Anything that's really like more detailed or more specific, the better. And really like anytime something goes wrong, you should try to think about this in terms of a lack of specificity. So if something's not working, you probably just were not specific enough. Moving on to the next idea here in terms of prompting, it is helpful to know a little bit of technical language or jargon just to direct the AI in the right direction. So I'm going to introduce a new term here. This is going to be called a route. So I'll type it out in a second down here, route or root, however you want to say it. But basically what this does is tell the AI that I actually want a brand new page. I don't want a new tab like I said here, but I want an entirely new page instead. So what I can say is something like make this its own route instead. And that's more than enough information for the AI to understand what I'm trying to communicate. Without the word route, it can be a little bit tricky because you might say like new tab, but obviously, tab you're referring to is in the web browser. It thinks I meant tabs down here, kind of in this tab structure. You might say a new page, but that also kind of sometimes doesn't work correctly. So just having some of the familiarity with the terms is very helpful. And so some common terms are going to be things like routing for new pages, things like the data model for how the actual information is structured inside of the application that you're building. And that's pretty much it, honestly. Those are the kind of main ones. I guess I'll add one more, which is components. So as you probably already know, this page is made up of many smaller components. We can actually see that if we go over to the code view. You can see that those components are being built there. And so you can say, break this down into smaller components or reference my existing components. And those types of prompts will help you reuse elements from the page. So, for example, we have a stats card here that's kind of going all the way across. If we want to reuse that stats card, we just say, reuse the stats card or reuse my components. Again, I'll pause for a second here while this wraps up, and then we'll see where we land. All right, so now our new route is set up. But one thing that's kind of confusing is that you actually don't see any differences. Obviously, the analytics tab is gone, but we have no way of getting to the route. So it's important to know that this is built like any other website. Up in the bar here, you can actually select the different routes. So you can see the slash, this is called index, and then also slash analytics, and this is our analytics page. If we wanted to, we could prompt somewhere to add a button, right? So maybe a left nav or something like that to add in the navigation between the pages. But if anytime you add a new route and you kind of are confused, you can always just take a look at the available routes right up here. So again, the whole point of this was just to introduce some prompting best practices. We talked about prompting, with specific terminology. The last thing I'll add here is just context. So the more context you provide, the better. This comes in the form of screenshots. This can come from the form of a Figma design, and this can come in the form of your design system, which we'll talk more about in a second. So really like the more context you can provide, the better. And actually, the more context you provide, the less you have to rely on the prompt, right? So you're basically providing different forms of information. And so your prompt doesn't need to be as precise because you're providing a lot of information with a screenshot or a Figma import or, your existing design system. Next video, I'll show you how to do a Figma import, and then we'll chat more about design systems.